Tom, where did you grow up?
I grew up in here in Tipperary. I have lived nowhere else except in Tipperary town.
How did your area get its name?
Well, it's famous for its wells. In fact, if you dig in any part of the town, the water would come up. When the Excel was being built, they discovered there were 4 wells under the building and had to be capped before they could proceed. So it got its name from the wells, our place of wells in Tipperary.
What family names are most common in your area?
Well, Ryan, I would say, I had a relative called Ryan, but there were all sorts of Ryans and they all had nicknames to identify who they were. But that to me was the most prevalent name.
And what kind of house did you live in?
It was a 2-storied house, 2 bedrooms, kitchen and living room. It was small, yes, but in comparison to houses today, it's quite small, but adequate.
Tom, did you have running water or electricity?
We had eye lamps for quite a number of years and candles going to bed. So it was an experience every time, and we lived almost in semi-darkness at winter time.
Did many people immigrate in your youth?
Well, that really happened in the 50s. There was a lot of immigration at that time, in fact, very serious immigration. Hemorrhage out of the country, particularly to England, and but there was always a certain amount of immigration in the early days, certainly in the early 40s.
What games did you play at home, on the street, or at school?
Well, games you made them up yourself. The one that comes to mind, which might be surprising, is that we used to be able to go out onto the roadways and with a top. The top was a small little timber circle with a nail stuck up in it, and you had a stick with twine, and you got it spinning it, and you whipped it, and it could go up and down the road whipping it, and then you'd have a competition for many times you lost the whip or lost the spinning top. There was other ones where you had little hoops and you rode them up and down the street. So at that time there were no such thing as motor cars or interruption. You didn't have to worry about traffic. They were very simple things. You made them up as you went along.
How did you amuse yourself on winter nights?
We talked about the days of events around the fire as well. But the radio was a great help because there were programs especially made for British called Round the Fire. There were chats of people that came in Kildare to houses, and they listened to that sort of a program, yes. But after that, there wasn't really much to talk about except the weather, which was always a subject of conversation, and it still is in Ireland.
How many meals a day did you eat?
Hopefully I ate 3. The breakfast consisted mostly of toast, tea and toast. The main meal would be, you might have a piece of meat, but it could be a piece of bacon, which was one night, cabbage. But there was very rarely a dessert, except you might have an apple. That would be the main meal. And for supper, we'd back again to bread and jam, and maybe a mother might have made some scones or cake. That was it.
What kind of meat were you eating?
Very little. Meat was very expensive. If you were lucky to have meat once a week. What was popular, of course, was bacon, the rashers, which get very rasher and egg was very popular now, even for the main meal.
Was fish eaten?
Very little of it because it was too dear and it was hard to get anyway, being an inland town. I'd say it was almost, I didn't recall eating meat or fish at all, only very rarely. Sometimes you might get a trout in the river, but that's what
What kind of food were eaten on special occasions?
Well, the big occasion would be Christmas, and usually there'd be some turkey. If you had relations in the country, which we had, the turkey would come in from, say, Cap of White, where my mother came from, and that would be a great treat for a number of days.
What kind of treats would you get?
Such as treats on occasions. Well, sweets, of course, were very popular. I could buy them in the shop that was nearby. There'd be boiled sweets and bullseyes and things like that, just called them. But not chocolate. All these things were rather expensive.
Where did you go to school?
I went here. This is where the building we're in. I was at school here from the very beginning in the early 30s, and I recall in school here in this particular room. It was fourth class was here in this particular room, and did all my primary here, and so I was quite happy. I liked school.
Can you remember the names of any of your teachers?
Yes, the principal teacher here was Michael Flynn, next door to the Bill Hanran. He was from the town here. A man called Healy. He was a child Irish teacher. He down in this room. I ran through them many more. I can't recall this now.
At what age did you leave school?
I left school at 18. In fact, I'm one of those lucky persons that I went into work almost immediately. And if you recall it, work, the Canon John Hayes was a curate here in Tipperary, and he was the founder of an organisation called Winter and Tierra, which he founded in 1937 in this town. And it's still existing. Since 1937 up to the present time, the work that he started there is still going on. But I joined, he invited me actually because I knew him as a server in St. Michael's Church when I was at school here, in primary school, that I got to know him there, he got to know me. And his organisation, as I said, started in 1937, around 1946 and 47, it was quite a struggle. And he invited me to join his team of workers, which I did. And he was able to pay me £1 a week sterling. So that was my start right away. And I have done no other work in all my life. It's a long life. Father Hayes, I worked in he died in 1957, and continued in the national organisation. His head offices in Tipperary and Roseland Road, and only retired last 5 years ago. And so all what's going on in this centre here is a result of the work of Canon Hayes and here, and he was one of the he was a national leader and known internationally until he died, because he was a great orator, and he founded a movement that people would work together for the common good, and he called his unit of organisation a community council. So I was fortunate in that way. I had the seat work, and in time the salary increased to more than £2 or £3 a week and so on, and finally I was able to live comfortably, and I became an assistant to the national organisation as the chief executive for many years. So I had a very fortunate life during with Father Hayes, and a very interesting life, and travelled with him as well at home and abroad, and met an awful lot of fine people, all of them working in a voluntary capacity, and it's great to see that the organisation is still alive and active up to the present time.
Were there any old characters in your area?
Characters? I thought you said characters. Oh, there were not very nice gentlemen here in Tipperary, or characters all right, and a man called Dan the Lane, as far as I recall. And he, at one time, the river that we have, the other passing through the town, was flooded, and the local council tried to improve it by widening it and narrowing the eyes of the bridge, and eventually flooded the whole of the part of the street. So this old man had come on and warned them that if they didn't open up the eyes, they'd flood the town. So that's one of them I remember.
Where did you go to Mass?
St. Michael's Church in the street. Yeah. That was a place go every Sunday, of course, and lots of times when I got into my teenage years, I'd go to Mass and home. Club Saturdays, day.
Where did people sing in the church?
Well, it was strange when I was very young. Men and women seated themselves in different parts of the church. On the left side of the church, the men sat, the women sat on the right hand side of the church. And then if you were down in the middle of the church, both sexes occupied those seats. And there's another strange thing we talked about the church, that you had to pay 2 pence to go into the seats in the centre of the church. And you hadn't your card going in and hand it up to the collector, you would have to go to the side of the church. Anyway, so it was a way of raising money for the church, which was needed, of course, as well, and it's okay.
What priests were in the parish?
Well, I was talking about Canon Hayes there. He was, of course, pure, very popular, and great man. He liked working with young people, and he's a great man for the town itself. He used to organise all sorts of festivals. I remember seeing my first aeroplane out in Rattenveen, which is only a few miles out the road there. He brought a number of aeroplanes to that particular field, and they could land. And there was even a helicopter involved. That's a long time ago now. And you pay so much to have a ride in an aeroplane. They were double-winged affairs, and small, but it was one of those men a lot of original ideas, and he liked involved in people making up their own amusements. The market yard there now, every year there'd be a lot of different kind of games and chairplanes and all sorts of ghost trains and things like that, and stands and so on.
Have you any special memory of Father Hayes?
But my whole life was taken up with him, and as I say, he was a national figure. Any place he went, people would gather to hear what he had to say, and the good news he would bring to them in regard to improving their quality of living. And I was associated with that now for 10 years, and subsequently, of course. But he was a figure that was in great demand by groups all over the country, and we travelled right around the country, day and night, and in inclement weather, and it was a wonderful experience for a young person. He's the first council set up in 1937, but he got the first idea back in 1931. He set up a limited company which got involved in getting better prices for farmers and their produce, but then he said to himself, if they got better prices, the people that were paying for it, no one was defending them. So he said that as a priest he should become involved in some organisation that was a kind of community dimension to it, and that no one would be injured or in any way by what they were doing. So he founded a community organisation that means everybody in the community, so that any good that body did, everybody would benefit from it, and it wasn't sectionalised as such. It was a community organisation, and that still holds to this present time. That the importance is that to solve local problems, whether they're social or economic problems, the people should unite together to do it. And that's the way it's going on at the present time.
Were markets held locally? And can you describe the market fair?
The one that comes to mind is the Fair Day in Tipperary. My goodness me, it was a terrific thing. That all the main street now, for instance, all the cows were brought in by the farmers and they were sold on the side of the street, on the footpaths and everything else. And it was a dangerous operation because it could be knocked down by an animal that got frightened. But you couldn't believe it was possible. The whole main street, both sides, there'd be cattle and a lot of noise and the farmers making deals and buying and selling. And it wasn't a nice sight, and the smell wasn't nice as well. And shopkeepers, when the fair was over, had to come out and wash down all their fronts of their shops and so on. So, and probably once a month they had fairs, as far as I can recall.
Had you any involvement with youth clubs?
Well, I had actually in 1960 under the council. Was youth clubs set up in O'Brien Street. Remember O'Brien Street is where Tipperary? Yes, there was youth club set up there by Noel McInerney, and he's still alive. And I was involved, and many others were involved, adults, and that went on for quite a number of years, very successful. They took in young boys and girls between the ages of 12 and 18, but probably more than 14 to 18. And they had a clubhouse in O'Brien Street, and they'd come in every night for 2 hours, and they played games, they got to know each other, but more important than anything else, they were taught how to consider the local community and the problems that the local communities had. And they discovered that at Christmas time, and I'm talking about the early 60s now, at Christmas time there were quite a lot of people in Tipperary town, poor people who wouldn't have no Christmas dinner. So the committee that we had, and the committee was made up of mostly of the young people themselves, with an adult or two thrown in to keep it to guide them. They organised carol singing and trained. They got trained themselves, and went around the town, collected money, with which they bought cooked meals the day before Christmas, and these were then brought to the houses of these people that were badly off, and later on, as it progressed in the years, maybe it's 1962 and 3 and 4, we used to get the dinners from Shannon Airport, which were prepared for the airplanes traveling through Shannon Airport at that time, and also to America. And these cooked meals bring them back and they heat them and bring them out to the people for Christmas. So that was a great community project. And Meals and Wheels are doing the same thing today, as you know, and that operates out of this building again. But and even go back to Canon Hayes, he was the first person that started a Meals and Wheels, but it wasn't a Meals and Wheels as such. You had to walk through this place on Wednesday, house on Wednesday, where the food was cooked and the people brought it home with them and they ate it there. So that was the beginning too of Meals and Wheels. Then that went from that to meals being brought to the people. That's still going on, but it's more professionalised now. There were very tough times, and the winters then were very severe. It was as bad as the winters we got 2 years ago.
On you, Tom, where did you see Mountain Natura going in the future?
Well, I hope it keeps going. But it has a great future because it's very relevant in today's times today, because the country is very short of money and more reliance is being made now on people themselves to look after their problems at local level and to get what assistance they can from the state. But it has a great future, and what they call it now is community development, and means that all the people of the local community will be given an opportunity to become involved in their own local development. But everybody should have an input into improving the quality of life in our local community and be interested in it. That includes tidy towns and every effort that's made to keep the town tidy and clean. That's community development. So having a pride in your town, not littering the town, that's all part of the work of Means and Tierra. But it's up to the people themselves. Means and Tierra can't do anything for anybody. You can tell them how to do it and what structures to set up, but the people themselves must become involved in their own development. That's what civilization is about.
Thank you, Tom, for your time.
Thank you very much for your questions. They were very good. And you too. Thank you very much.